From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Tuesday, February 25th. Here are today's headlines. The main session of the Syrian National Dialogue is set to take place today. The long-awaited event began yesterday. It's geared toward establishing a long-term new order in Syria following the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad in December. That includes beginning work on a new constitution and forming a new permanent government. The talks are supposed to culminate in a series of non-binding recommendations for the country's new leaders. Plans for the conference had been uncertain until the last minute. The date was announced on Sunday, one day before its start.
The meeting is not expected to be more than a talking shop, with all power still with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and its leader, the now President Ahmed al-Shara.
The National's Khaled Yacoub Oweis reports.
However, the meeting carries some political significance. It comes at a time that HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is under Western pressure to show that it will not hold a power monopoly, or at least pay some heed to a pluralistic mode of government, especially when it comes to the country's minorities, the Druze, the Kurds, Christians, and so forth.
The outcome of the national dialogue will be non-binding recommendations to the country's new leaders.
So far, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham government, or the new authorities in Damascus, have stayed away from the gross violations of human rights and mass detentions that were common under the Assad regime. But Mr. Shara and his lieutenants have not made an explicit commitment to democracy.
President Sheikh Mohamed says the UAE is keen to push forward its relations with Italy. That came on an official visit to Rome this week. He's met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni as well as President Sergio Mattarella. Sheikh Mohamed said the two countries are linked by strong strategic relations. He said, quote, "My visit today reflects the UAE's keenness to push these relations forward for the benefit of joint development in both countries," unquote.
Mr. Mattarella, for his part, spoke of the depth of relations between the two countries and their shared aspiration to further strengthen cooperation for the benefit of both people.
Here's the National's Patrick Ryan with more.
Sheikh Mohammed also met with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at the government palace in Rome on Monday. It was here that the UAE announced a commitment to invest $40 billion across key sectors in Italy, including economy, investment, defence, energy, which took in peaceful nuclear energy, sustainable energy, energy transition, space, and the promotion of cultural heritage.
UAE-Italy links were boosted in March of 2023 by a visit from Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She was in Abu Dhabi again last month as the UAE, Italy, and Albania announced plans to team up to build a subsea system for exporting renewable energy across the Adriatic. This week marks the third anniversary of the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. The anniversary comes shortly after delegations from the U.S. and Russia met in Saudi Arabia for peace talks without Ukraine, to the dismay of its president, Volodymyr Zelensky.
They can discuss everything they want, but not about Ukraine without us.
The European Union said in a joint statement yesterday on the occasion of the anniversary, quote, "Russia and its leadership bear sole responsibility for this war and the atrocities committed against the Ukrainian population. We continue to call for accountability for all war crimes and crimes against humanity committed," unquote. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have come to be mediators in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, exacerbated by the war which started with a Russian invasion on February 20th, 2022. Meanwhile, France's Emmanuel Macron and the UK's Keir Starmer are set to make back-to-back visits to the White House this week. It's an attempt to convince U.S. President Donald Trump that Ukrainian and European interests should be taken into account in peace talks with Russia. Ukraine is set to dominate discussions between the world leaders after Europe rallied behind Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, following Mr. Trump's pivot toward Russia. Britain and France are reported to be working on a so-called reassurance force of 30,000 men to deter future Russian attacks on Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Al-Taji, The National.